Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee of RotoBaller, my co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network, and we're kicking this one off with everyone's favorite segment. How many races has it been since Ross Chastain has won? And we're at 0 because Ross Chastain gets the win from the pole at Nashville, becomes the 11th different winner of the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series season. 81.7% of pole respondents for Jeff Gluck said that was a good race. I agree with all of them. That was a very good race. Even though, Ross Chastain won it, if you've listened to this podcast for very long, you know that I don't like Mr. Chastain, but, he definitely had the best long run car there from the middle of the race on. Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin were both very strong in that race as expected. Chase Elliott ended up in the top 5, as did Kyle Larson. William Byron, Christopher Bell, Eric Jones, Kyle Busch, and A.J. Allmendinger rounding out the top 10. Overall, though, I think we saw a very good race at Nashville. Once again, this intermediate package has produced some very good racing. And it seems like, we once again saw the cars and the teams that were fast last year in this race with this new car with the first race once again being fast. Martin Truex Jr. was really fast at Nashville last year. He's once again really fast in this race this year. Wasn't able to finish it out, wasn't able to get up there and challenge Chastain there late in the race, but did come home with another top 5 finish. I think that's his 4th in a row. He's still the points leader, but like I said, Ross Chastain locking himself into the playoffs, 11th different winner. And yeah, I will say this. I said it last week, I'm going to say it again. I love live betting because end of stage 2, I'm watching, the broadcast, which by the way, NBC's broadcast was amazing. Compared to Fox, that was just absolutely amazing. But sitting there, they're focusing on Truex and Hamlin battling out for the stage win while I'm sitting there watching Ross Chastain, and he's gaining tenths of a second per lap on those guys. And I'm looking at live odds, and he's plus 750, and I'm like, yep, he has the best long run car. If this last stage goes green, he's going to be the guy to beat. Plus, number 1 pit stall, one of the fastest pit crews out there, outside of like William Byron, who's their team always just does insane numbers. But Chastain, they have a very good pit crew. But anyway, Ross Chastain winning at Nashville. Nick, what do you think of that race?
Dude, yeah, it was a good race. Was it the best race ever? No, it certainly wasn't as good as Kansas we saw earlier this year. But it was a pretty solid race. It was hard to pass, but you could. And I think that's what we want. We don't want it to be easy to pass. If we want drivers to make it hard on each other, and it was hard to pass. But we saw, I think Dr. Deandra put the numbers out. There were 6 lead changes on track and outside of a restart. So that's really good. That's pretty solid. There was 1 extra that came from a restart, and then there was obviously some on pit road and things like that. So very solid race. And yeah, I thought it was a good race. Obviously, Chastain had the best long-run car, like you said. Really happy with my analysis of that race overall. Just so, if you followed on Fantasy Labs, which is, of course, part of Action Network, you probably had a great DFS day because I think outside of Ryan Blaney, everybody I wrote up had an amazing day. I think I wrote up the whole winning lineup other than Austin Dillon in terms of the optimal lineup. And, I had written up Corey LaJoie instead of Austin Dillon, and I think that was like the second optimal lineup or something like that. So really solid. And even then, looking at how Kevin Harvick came on really late, if Ryan Blaney hadn't gotten that incident, I think there may have been a chance he kind of also came on late because those Fords did get better. All the Fords got better as the nighttime conditions really set in. So was pretty happy with the analysis of that race, and I thought it was a really good race. Congrats to Ross Chastain. There is now a new leader on the Jordan list that he made of who it's been longest since they've won. And I thought maybe you were going to make the non-super speedway list as well because Austin Cindric's only win was this Daytona 500.
Right. Yeah, I still have to do that one. I'm going to. I just didn't have time to before this episode, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm going back and forth right now on whether I want to continue the Ross Chastain thing. If he doesn't win at Chicago this weekend, then start 1 or 2, or whether to bring it back. Once it gets back up to 20, or if it gets back up to 20. But yeah, like And I was surprised I didn't have more people in my mentions just because I've talked so much shit about Ross Chastain. Here's the thing. I've never said he can't win races. I've never said he's not very good. I was just waiting to start calling him very good and, getting him in these top discussions until he started winning races. And that was definitely I wouldn't call it surprising, but, the past month and since Darlington, that team hasn't had speed. So off week came, they came out, they got the pole and got the win.
I'm sorry. Did you say you were, people were gonna message you about it because you're a Ross Chastain hater? I thought you were one of those Ross Chastain dick suckers. He's horrible, bro.
Yeah. You never know what's gonna come across on Twitter.
That was hilarious. I could not stop laughing when I saw that. I was laughing so hard. Oh man. Yeah. That for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Jordan. Somebody tweeted at Jordan that like, I didn't know you were one of those Ross Chastain dick suckers. He's horrible. And Jordan just replied like, who wants to tell him? It was so funny. But yeah, no, that was an awesome race. And I mentioned Ryan Blaney. That was a hard hit that he had for sure. And the crazy thing is he wasn't even going like that fast. 120 something like that. But if he'd been going faster, he scrubbed off a lot of speed. Plus they were coming up to speed on a restart. But if it had been like 150, 170 miles an hour, like they can do heading into that corner, that could have been really bad. So I'm glad Blaney is okay there.
Yeah, and that's going to be part of my whine about it, that whole issue. But to continue talking about that for a little bit right now, Blaney, this once again another example of a driver saying that in this car, it's the hardest hit they've ever taken. And honestly, I'm waiting for the news to drop tomorrow that Blaney has a concussion and he's not racing at Chicago. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but to take that hard of a hit, I mean, he immediately came on the radio and said, I'm not good. And, got out of the car and immediately dropped to the ground. The signs are there that he might have got hurt. He might have a concussion. I mean, we've seen it with numerous times. We saw Alex Bowman. We saw it with Gregson, just a couple recent ones. Blaney, that was a hell of a hit. And that was the only part of the broadcast that I can knock was whoever was the producer of that race decided to go into Kyle Busch's in-car camera as Ryan Blaney was heading directly into the wall. Like, you had the shot, bud. Keep it on there, and went to Kyle Busch. But that's like once again going back to NBC, phenomenal broadcast overall. Even with I wasn't even mad that Rick Allen was talking. I don't think I talked shit about, maybe once I talked shit about Rick Allen when he didn't know that Alex Bowman was still out there because he didn't pit it. But other than that, I think here's the thing. I've been talking years that NBC is better than Fox, and it is so apparent this year. Fox should be absolutely embarrassed how bad their broadcast is.
That was kind of, I was thinking of that as my whine about it. Like my whine about it being Fox again, even though we're not, on the Fox part of the schedule anymore. But seeing that quality of the NBC broadcast, Fox is an absolute embarrassment of a TV broadcast for NASCAR right now. And I know some people didn't like it on Twitter, but I really liked the part where Dale and Jeff were out in the turn for the start of the race, and they were commenting, they were screaming because they had to, because cars are driving by and you can hear it on the TV. That's the radio style broadcast. I love the radio style broadcast. We love it when Mike Bagley does it at Watkins Glen, for example. They would have him do that. I thought it was cool, and people were like, "Oh, this is terrible." I thought it was great, and I knew they weren't going to do it the whole race. I was like, I think they're just doing it for, at most, the first stage, probably the first stint once they get past their first commercial break, and they did, and I thought it was really well done, and it's a taste of what's to come because they're going to have people in the turns radio style for this weekend's race at Chicago.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's people that may say something like, who cares that Fox was so bad now that we're on NBC? Here's the thing. If they're trying to grow this sport, if they're trying to grow the viewer base, you have to do it at Daytona in these early races because every year we see this drop off. It starts high and then drops off. Same thing, like when I was running my website, same thing with traffic. It was highest at February and then it'd slowly drop off throughout the end of the year.
Yep.
So for Fox to be the first part of the schedule, that's why they need to step their game up. Like if they're going to continue to try to draw casual fans into the sport, which, you know, I would think would be a negotiating factor from NASCAR on the next TV deal. It's like when you compare these two broadcasts and presentations, it's night and day different. Like even when NBC was talking about, you know, the changes that NASCAR's making to this next gen car, they had like the 3D models and they showed and they explained it. Fox would never do something like that. They might say something, but they're not going to put anything on the screen like that, fully explaining, you know, how they're making the changes and why they're making the changes and why they should be a good thing.
Yep. Sorry, I was dealing with something there on the side. It's one of those things. I would see the same thing in terms of traffic for me beginning of the season as well. And you have to capture the audience right off the bat. And for me, the biggest tell, remember the Daytona 500 or where it was like Clint Boyer was just like, oh yeah, they crashed. And it was just so dead. And you compare that to the IndyCar broadcast of the Indy 500, let's say, IndyCar's biggest race versus NASCAR's biggest race. And Lee Diffie's just pumping it out, and Townsend Bell and James Hinchcliffe are, you know, just so energetic. And they really bring you in to IndyCar with the action on the track, the excitement, the drama of the moment. The drama at the Daytona 500 was just totally lost on that broadcast team. It's like it wasn't dramatic at all. It was like it was boring, and it shouldn't have been. It's the Daytona 500. Mm-hmm. So everything from the production to the commentary to the number of commercials and the timing of the commercials and all of that, it's just really, really bad. And NBC, they hit a, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say they hit a home run, but they had a very strong broadcast for their first one of 2023.
Yeah. No major hiccups. You maybe got to, and not to mention, this is what I was actually most interested in, and I tweeted about it. I like looking at the live leaderboard and watching, you know, the time from leader, and how NBC's seemed 100% accurate. Fox's, you know, a guy in seconds constantly jumps from 1 second back to 2.5 seconds back to a quarter of a second back to 4 seconds back, like constantly moving. NBC's didn't do that. So that tells me it's not a NASCAR problem. That is fully a Fox problem. And how the fuck they can screw that up is beyond me. Like, you would think they're just getting a data feed from NASCAR, but apparently not. Apparently there's more shit going on there. But once again, Fox sucks ass. Going back to the actual race, though, a couple guys that it was nice to see them have good runs. Like I said, A.J. Allmendinger inside the top 10. He also finished top 10 in the first stage, top 10 in both stages. He was 10th in stage 1, 8th in stage 2. Eric Jones as well, who was very strong in practice, had a little hiccup in qualifying, but you know, we haven't talked about Legacy Motor Club being competitive at all this year. So are they on the up and up, or was this just a one-off, you know, of Eric Jones? It's going to be a while for us to know that, but it was nice to see Eric Jones up there legitimately running top 10.
Yeah, for sure. Eric Jones, A.J. Allmendinger, they both had great races. And if you followed along in practice, you know, I tracked them because FanDuel left odds up during practice, and I said this was going to be a race where, 50-minute practice session. Nashville's kind of an oddball track. Really want to see practice times, and practice times correlated very well with race pace, and that's why we smashed it so hard, whether it's DFS or betting or anything like that. So I hit Eric Jones 5-1, I hit AJ Allmendinger 5-1, both for top 10s. So really solid stuff there. But yeah, it was nice to see a couple of the smaller teams have some very strong results. Unfortunately for Legacy, their co-owner, Jimmy Johnson, is going to have to miss another race. It's just been an awful year for Jimmy Johnson on all fronts, from the Daytona 500 crash to lap 1 crash at COTA. Didn't even complete a lap. To, the wreck at the 600, and now not even be able to race at Chicago. Just very tragic situation. So obviously we just want to send our condolences to the Johnson and his wife's family.
Yeah, it's we won't go into details on what supposedly happened there, but Definitely unfortunate and horrifying. I mean, it's just
puts a
crazy,
damper on that Eric Jones result for sure.
Yeah, yep. A few other guys to talk about here from Nashville. Chase Briscoe once again just awful. In this package.
It's an absolute disaster.
And he had a decent qualifying effort. He started 18th, immediately dropped like a rock, and finished 31st, right ahead of Ty.
He got passed by JJ Yaley and Brennan Poole. Both the Rick Ware racing cars passed him on that first stint. That's embarrassingly bad.
And I don't understand why that's something NBC should be talking about, because you look at Kevin Harvick had a legitimate. He could have. I don't want to say he could have won that race, but he could have contended with how strong he was coming on late in the race. And Eric Almirola, Ryan Preece, they keep sneaking in there. Ryan Preece especially lately is sneaking in top 17 mid-teen finishes. He finished 16th here at Nashville, but man, whatever it is with Briscoe in this package, something's not clicking, and they're not making any progress whatsoever there. Corey LaJoie, though, he finished 20th. Another, when you look at the similar tracks to Nashville, and Ryan from iFantasy Race pointed this out, LaJoie had an average finish of 17.8 on similar tracks this year, including Dover. LaJoie finished 20th. He started dead last in 36th. Finished 20th. Yep. He was actually running like top 15. I think he had a bad pit stop or something late. Ended up finishing 20th, but still another good run from him.
Super solid run. 3 straight top 20s at Nashville. This is a very solid track for him. A 15th, a 20th, and a 20th at Nashville. And this, like you said, this 20th was a bit unflattering. He was running a little bit better than that towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it was. I just realized Kez was the highest finishing Ford.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski was top Ford. Obviously, probably should have been a Harvick. Maybe Blaney if not for the accident, but things happened, so it ended up Brad Keselowski. Speaking of terrible, like with Chase Briscoe, it's just night and day different between Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano at these types of tracks as well.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, and I'm pretty sure during the broadcast on Sunday night they talked about Logano, and they basically said he's having a similar season to how he did last year, and he won the championship.
No,
and
not
it's
even
not
close.
True at all. Yeah, you look at the results, it's not. No, like this team is struggling. Like last year when he struggled, he was still finishing top 10. Now he struggles, and it's barely hanging on for a top 20. Ended up 19th. No stage points from Logano this weekend, despite starting 3rd or 4th. So yeah, that's another one. Like, and we talk about it every week. That drop off. He's sitting 9th in points, but man, that drop off is weird. And just maybe it's just a Ford thing. Like, obviously Ford's the lagging manufacturer overall this year. Like, Blaney and Harvick are having good seasons, but overall Ford's just not that great. And RFK has, top 10 potential, but not doing.
Another one we should talk about real quick. Alex Bowman, no top 10 since his return from injury, and 7 straight races without a top 10.
After starting the season off on absolute fire.
Now he's on the outside looking in the playoff picture. He fell out from 16th behind Daniel Suarez to 17th place. So just they need to right the ship there. I don't even know if Chicago's going to be the track to right the ship for him. It might be. He's had some good road course runs for sure. I think about Coda the year he almost won it instead of Ross Chastain, but Chastain punted Dinger into Bowman. That was pretty funny, but he meant to take out Dinger. He did not mean to take out Bowman, but it kind of worked out. He got like the old pool like combo play there, and billiards combo play, but Chastain did. But Alex Bowman struggling, and this Chase Elliott thing. So
I knew this was going to come up.
Yeah, so he is now, if we do the math, 53 plus 11 is 64 points. 64 points with 8 races. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 races to go. 54 points with 9 races to go. So that is 6 points per race. Is that right? No, 64, I said. Confused 54 and 64. 64 with 9 races to go. 64 divided by 9. He needs to gain 7.1 points per race on Daniel Suarez. But it is likely, if Alex Bowman returns to his old form, that he jumps ahead of Daniel Suarez and threatens Bubba Wallace. So the target really should be Bubba Wallace there at 381, especially if Daniel Suarez hasn't won. He could win this weekend. Alex Bowman hasn't won. He could grab a win. Ty Gibbs, he could grab a win. I mean, any of these guys could grab a win at Daytona. That's outside of the cut line. So to point his way in, Chase Elliott pretty much just has to keep finishing top 5. That's really hard to do. He has to hope nobody else outside of the top 16 wins. It's going to be darn near impossible. I said it was next to impossible, I think, on my tweet during the race. And there was a little pushback, but I think by and large, if Chase Elliott points his way in, we have to think of something stupid for me to do because, I don't think he's going to.
I think Bowman is ahead of Suarez in points now, according to Racing Reference.
Racing Reference is wrong. Wikipedia has Bowman at 351, Daniel Suarez at 353. Racing Reference has really gone downhill for whatever reason. Wow. If we go to NASCAR, if we go to NASCAR and just go to their standings, it's Daniel Suarez 353, Alex Bowman 351.
You know what's funny is Reference has Bowman at 331 and Suarez at 328. How is this so bad?
You had said Joey Logano was 9th in the standings earlier. NASCAR has him 9th. Oh, NASCAR has him because of the win. If we actually go to raw points, Joey Logano is 10th in raw points, but if we sort by playoff points because he has the win and a couple stage wins, he's 9th. But technically in the actual regular season point standings, Joey Logano is 10th.
I don't understand how Racing Reference can be that off. It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And why I continue to use it every week. But, all right, now that we have that sorted out, going on to the standings themselves, Martin Truex Jr. is still the leader. Byron's still leading the way with playoff points at 17. Ross Chastain joins the double-digit playoff point picture. He now has 10. Kyle Busch also has 17. Truex with 11. Kyle Larson with 12. So those 5 drivers have double-digit playoff points already with, 9 races to go until the playoff cut line? Yeah.
Yep.
So Truex, the points leader right now. William Byron, Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, the top 5. As we continue to get on... Actually, I was going to talk about Reddick, but that might be my actual whine about it. Is Tyler Reddick.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, so we can go ahead and talk standings, and then we'll get to whine about it after that. So, once again, Truex, has a solid points lead, has an 18-point lead on Byron in the points. Again, I feel like Truex's season is quietly, he's back on track. He didn't win last year. Now all of a sudden, as far as I'm concerned, he's a championship contender again. And I don't think anybody can really dispute that.
Yeah, 100% agree. Obviously he would be behind Byron without the penalty, but
right.
Truex is a championship contender. 4 straight top 5 finishes at, I would say, at least 3 different styles, if not 4 styles of racing. Gateway used the intermediate package, so it's probably kind of similar enough to Nashville that we can say maybe 3 different styles of racing, because then there's Charlotte, which also used the intermediate, but it's just a much bigger, faster track than and more banked than Nashville and Gateway. And then Sonoma, of course, being a road course. Also at Darlington, he had a great car, led the most laps, won a stage, won the pole position, and finished 31st. So, I mean, the dude's on a roll. And then you go back to Kansas, finished 8th. And then prior to that, Dover won the race. So, dude is on an absolute tear right now. Talladega's Talladega. And then he finished 3rd at Martinsville and 7th at Bristol Dirt. So, you know, he's had 2.5 solid, maybe almost 3 months of really, really good performances.
Mm-hmm. Looking at, you know, if the playoffs started now, Byron would go into the playoffs right now with 27 points, Truex with 26, Kyle Busch with 23. Some of the guys on the lower side would be, you know, Logano only with 8, Reddick only with 8, Blaney only with 10. Just looking at that now, you know, obviously we still have nine races to go, but
Harvick
Byron leading the way.
Harvick would only have 6.
Yeah, which is, you know, he's not, you know, he's getting good finishes, but he's not running well all races, I feel like. Leading the way, stage wins, Byron has 7, Chastain has 5, Hamlin has 4, despite he does have a win this year. I forgot he had a win. Reddick with 3, Kyle Busch with 2. Anything else on these standings?
No, I mean, I guess the playoff bubble's kind of interesting simply because we got Suarez and Bowman so close, and Ty Gibbs is only 10 back.
That's a good point.
Crazy enough, A.J. Allmendinger is only another 14 back of Ty Gibbs, so he's within a race for sure.
Don't say that.
And then three points, Michael McDowell. So there's 5 guys right now, and you know, if we really want to throw Chase Elliott in there, I'm not. Maybe 6 guys that are fighting for that last playoff spot. And that doesn't count somebody sneaking their way in on a win. So we could have a very interesting playoff battle shaping up as we head into the last couple races of the regular season. And then, of course, Daytona's Daytona. We know all hell is going to break loose there.
Yeah. And, like, and this week at Chicago, like, we no idea what to expect. And this could be a week, you know, I've been hearing people talk a lot about A.J. Allmendinger and his previous experience on this type of road course. He comes in there and wins a race. He locks himself in the playoffs. We're talking, you know, that cut line moves down one more, and it's really going to get hairy there for guys like Chase Elliott. So, but then again, Chase Elliott could go and win this race this weekend. So, other than that, I don't really have a lot for the standings.
I mean, you know, we're still. Go ahead.
I was going to say Chase Briscoe, but I forgot he has that penalty too.
Yeah, the 60-point penalty or whatever. He would be 28th in the standings ahead of Austin Dillon. Which, dude, Austin Dillon, man, what a terrible year he's having, I guess, if Chase Briscoe's ahead of him. And we're talking about how terrible Chase Briscoe is every week.
Right.
And the funny thing is Austin Dillon was in the optimal lineup this past weekend, which sucks because my guy, Matty Howe, he has been following me since like day one, essentially, at RotoViz. And he's the guy that like took down or I don't know if he won the tournament or finished like second or third in, I can't remember the exact like finishing positions. I'm sure Matt will let me know. But the year that the Paul Menard pick of the week became the Paul Menard pick of the week because I said play Paul Menard as the Paul Menard pick of the week, but it wasn't the Paul Menard pick of the week then. He was all over that and took down like over 40 grand worth of contests. But he was so close. He had the optimal lineup minus Austin Dillon and instead Corey LaJoie. And he calls Austin Dillon Voldemort because, I mean, Austin Dillon is his kryptonite. And Austin Dillon fucking got him again. I cannot fucking believe it.
That sucks. Gosh.
But I mean, he had a great weekend. You know, I mean, he placed in like the second optimal lineup still, but when it's a gazillion way tie for that, it was only like $450 or something.
Speaking of, if anybody that's listening to this has the CSV and ownerships from Nashville, if you could please send those to me, I'd be appreciative. I forgot to grab it.
And me, because I wasn't at my computer during the race as well. So this is like the one CSV I don't have.
Yeah, I completely forgot about it and I wasn't in that contest. So, yeah, if anybody could send it, that'd be awesome. But that's going to get us to whine about it this week, which we didn't really do it last week, but it's good to be back. Good to be back.
It is.
Whine about
it's definitely good to be back.
Whine About It, presented by RotoBaller Winery. You want to go first or you want me to?
I'll go first. So, speaking about RotoBaller Winery, we've got this beautiful bourbon barrel-aged Merlot. My favorite. I got 3 of these in my most recent shipment of these. So, time to open another one and pour it into my nice, wonderful NASCAR coffee mug. Let's get the nice glug, glug, glug. I don't think you can hear that on the podcast, maybe, but if you can, it's some nice ASMR. And one more sip of bourbon barrel aged Merlot, my favorite RotoBaller wine. All right, so my wine about it. There's a few things I was going to talk about. Maybe just how bad Fox is, but we kind of addressed that. So we're going to Chicago, right? We got a new track, brand new track, never been raced on before. And everybody seems to think they know what's going to happen. Why? Why do we all think we know what's going to happen? Because I sure as hell don't. I've seen it's going to be chaos. The end will be chaos. It'll be boring. You can't pass. We have no idea. We literally have no idea. I don't know. I'm basing my bets and if we want to get into betting theory and stuff like that, I'm just kind of taking some stabs at some longer shot things right now. Tyler Reddick is a great road course racer, and when he drifted to 10, I said, look, he's won 3 of the last, 6 road course races. 10-1 is just too long. I don't care what type of track it is. I don't care if it's Sonoma, whatever. I'm going to take a stab at Tyler Reddick at 10-1. But that doesn't mean I know he's going to be good here. I'm just when we don't know, when the uncertainty increases, it behooves us to take longer shots because we don't know what's going to happen. So things that are unexpected could happen. There's a greater likelihood of unexpected events happening, whether it's some driver nailing the track in an absolutely boring race, right? Let's say, Justin Haley qualifies on pole somehow, and then just, it's hard to pass. Then that would be an unexpected event. Or maybe it's total chaos, and then the unexpected event is everybody wrecks out, kind of like Indy last year, and Todd Gilliland finishes in the top 5 again. There's all sorts of, we have no idea. I don't know. You don't know. Anybody that says this is going to be chaos or this is going to be boring, you will not be able to pass. It's so funny because that's literally the 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. And people are saying this is going to happen and that's going to happen on both opposite ends of the spectrum as I'm spilling wine everywhere. I spilled it right onto, thankfully, I have it covered. But I spilled it right onto my Kyle Kirkwood Indy 500 signed photo. So we're good there. It's in a protective sleeve. But yeah, I have no idea. So I don't know why people are assuming they know what's going to happen. And I've already made 3 bets for this race. I've already made 3 bets, but they're all longer shot bets. Now, yes, Tyler Reddick is a favorite, but it's a longer odds for Reddick than we've seen in a road course since Road America, since he won at 25-1. This is essentially as long as you're ever going to get Tyler Reddick at a road course these days. So that, to me, is a longer shot on Tyler Reddick. I took Ty Gibbs, top Toyota, because that's a long shot. He was the longest Toyota. And I took Michael McDowell in his group because he was the longest odds in his group, in a group where I haven't run the numbers, but I'm sure he's won at least once or twice in recent road course races, and he had a very strong Sonoma. He had a good car. He was inside the top 10 again at COTA, so he's just been really fast overall, and so it's just another road course. I don't know who is going to stand out. I have some theories, but they're theories. I don't know. I think Austin Cindric's going to be good, but I don't know that. I think it's going to be better for the Fords than it was at Sonoma. Based off the physics angle I've been studying with the Fords all year, whether they're going to either be good or bad depending on the situation. I think they're going to be better here, but I don't know that. But anybody says this will be the case on anything, that is, they have no idea, and just stop doing that.
Yeah, it's how you say it too. You know, if you definitively say it, you can't, because there's literally nothing to go off of. Where if you say I think this may happen, then it's a lot different. It's a lot softer when you when we're talking about this. You know, I saw a video today of Chris Buescher driving a sim around it, and you know he was slipping and sliding, and they said it was bumpy as shit and slipping and like slippery. And if that's the case, you know that's going to create a whole nother element of these cars are going to be hard to handle, and
absolutely
it's going to be,
which actually makes it easier to pass. Which makes it easier to pass if that's the case. So it could be a great race. But then of course some of the roads have been repaved. I made sure to look up news articles. Some of the roads have been repaved, so there should be less tire wear than Sonoma, I would think. Now again, a city street repave is not a NASCAR track repave, like a permanent oval repave, so it's going to be rougher and still wear the tires more, but it's still better than a worn out city street, completely worn out. So I think it's going to have less tire wear than Sonoma. I don't think it's going to be like Indy low wear, where Ryan Blaney could do a 2-tire strategy last year and make it work. I don't think it'll be that low, but it'll be definitely better than Sonoma. I think it'll definitely be better than Sonoma. I need to whine about myself there. I think it'll be better than Sonoma by a decent chunk.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see what happens this week. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. And I know a lot of us, you and myself included, we're on we're not going to bet anything early week in this race. But like you said, there was just some weird odds that don't make sense. Tyler Reddick 10-1. Any long shots like that. Kyle Busch opened up 16-1 at Superbook here in Ohio, and I had to jump on that because Kyle Busch is a constant top 5 threat at road courses. Like I'm going to take him 16-1 there. I think he's finished second in both road courses this year, if I remember right. Is that right? He's finished good. Let's put it that way. Huh?
Yeah, second at Coda and second at Sonoma.
That's what I thought.
Now, to be fair, he ran in the back half of the top 10 in both of those and finished better because of chaos at Coda and then a solid strategy at Sonoma. But that's the thing. If you run in the back half of the top 10, you're able to take advantage of these things when they do happen. You're more able to than if you're running 30th or 25th, right? So, I can get behind that. I didn't bet it myself. I saw it when it opened at 16, but I didn't bet it myself, but it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just the first one, or the only one that I saw that I was just like, okay, this is long enough for me to take a little shot here because, that's just how it is. But how many? I don't even know. I haven't really looked up the full everything with this. I'm looking at the track layout right now. A bunch of 90-degree turns, which is it's gonna be interesting. Like, again, we don't know what the hell to expect. For anybody listening to this, we do not know what's going to happen this weekend, and we might not even know in practice. Like, we don't know how aggressive. We don't know how aggressive these guys are going to be. We don't know anything. But
they're not going to be trying to pass each other in practice, right? We don't know how hard it is going to be to pass based off what we see in practice.
Mm-hmm. And why is this race so late? 5:30 on Sunday?
Yeah, I don't know. There's like you said, there's 3 straight Sunday evening races. Nashville, Chicago, Atlanta is going to be in the evening as well.
Yeah, so I'm looking up the length of this race. That's what I'm trying to find.
220 miles, 100 laps.
220 miles, 100 laps. So that's a relatively quick race. Like 220 miles isn't. I feel like that's the shortest road course we're running. I could be wrong. because a lot of times they do the kilometers. But
I have no idea.
yeah, it's still it's a short race. Let's say that, but it could take forever because if we get a wreck fest and
a jillion cautions,
exactly. So another week though to keep an eye on. What'd you get Gibbs at for top Toyota, by the way?
13-1. Got it at Caesars. I didn't want to wait for BetMGM or Bet365. I just wanted to take 13 because with Caesars, I know they'll take my money at however much I want to put down and then move the line. They do use me, and we've talked about this before. They straight up just use me to make their lines sharper, and that's a good way of bookmaking. It's like Circa would do, something like that. And so pretty much anytime I bet, not all the time, but pretty much anytime I bet, especially if I bet a substantial amount, Caesars is going to move the line. But I got him at 13, and he immediately moved, I think, to like 9, and then some people tailed and moved it to 8.5 or something like that. I don't know where it sits now, but that's at least what happened when I originally bet Ty Gibbs top Toyota.
Remember the days just a year ago when we got Bubba Wallace at 100-1 for top Toyota? I miss those days.
I do too. I miss those days. Remember when we got criticized for that being a bad bet?
Yeah. Bet365 don't have top manufacturer yet.
So I have to tip my hat to PJ Walsh on this because I didn't listen to Actions Detrimental at the time. I've listened to part of it now. But he had said that William Byron, of course, William Byron was the guest on the show for Denny Hamlin's Actions Detrimental this week as the winner of the Denny Hamlin Bracket Challenge. And Byron had said, supposedly, I haven't gotten this part yet, that Ty Gibbs was the best in the sim races for Chicago. So they all do the iRacing sim race stuff. And he said Ty Gibbs was just, in multiple sim races, was just the best one. So I don't know how well that is going to translate, but I already want to take longer shots, like I said, because there's more uncertainty. And there's only 6 cars that are Toyotas, so he only has to beat 5 others at 13-1 and was running the best in the sim races. Now, I don't know how many drivers were running these sim races, who was running them, but at the worst, it's not a bad data point to have there from that. So, thought that was and plus we know Ty Gibbs is a very good road course racer from his Xfinity races. So I don't think there's any reason to think he's a bad road course racer. It's just that there's a lot of good road course racers in the Cup Series, and there's a lot of good Toyota road course racers. So it's going to be tough, but for him to be the longest one, I think it was worth a flyer there based off everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't argue against that at all, especially if we get calamity. We've seen it before on new racetrack, new road course tracks. It's not crazy to think of. So, is that what you got for Wine About It? Is that it?
That's what I got, man. It's we don't know. Stop pretending like you know, because we don't.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Speaking of Toyota drivers, though, being good at road courses, that's going to segue into my Wine About It. I saw some tweets. Actually, it started with Dale Jarrett talking on the broadcast at Nashville saying that Tyler Reddick is a championship contender. And no, he's not. No, he's not. He's won 4 races in his Cup Series career. 3 of them were road courses. He's a very good road course racer. Road course racing does not win you a championship, first off. Second off, let's look at his average finishes since joining the Cup Series full-time. 17.5 his rookie year. 15.0 his sophomore year. 17.6 last year, despite having 3 wins. 17.3 this year. In what world is this a championship contender? You don't become a championship contender based on potential. It's the same exact thing as with Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain is not elite. Tyler Reddick is not a championship contender. Can he go out there and can he be fast in practice? Yes. Do we see him be fast in practice? Probably 5-6 times a year where he's blazing fast just like he was last weekend at Nashville. Guess what? Almost every single time, that speed doesn't translate to the race. Almost every single time. So I don't get people's obsessions with putting these guys on a pedestal of, yeah, Tyler Reddick's a championship contender. He's never even finished in the top 12 in points, ever. And you're going to sit here and call him a championship contender? What are you talking about? This is just absolute insanity to me. Do I think Tyler Reddick is talented? Yes. Is he anywhere near a level of being an absolute championship contender? No. You cannot convince me. If he makes the final round this year, I'm not even going to call him it. That's obviously a stretch and probably a dumb one. But my point is, stop crowning these guys things that they aren't even close to being yet. You can't just throw out half the field as championship contenders. It's not. There's a reason that the best drivers in this series win the championships.
To be fair, Ross Chastain is a championship contender. He was last year. He finished second. He was in the points lead for a good chunk of the regular season last year, and after 20 races last year, an average finish of 11.2. And I'm making this point to say that Reddick's average finish in the 17 range is 6 places behind where Ross Chastain was in his average finish last year at the halfway mark, ballpark. So you're right. It's not close for Tyler Reddick. He's sitting 13th in points. 13th. And he has 7 finishes of 20th, or worse than 20th, I should say, outside the top 20. 7 in, 17 races? Something like that? It's not good. Last year, he had 17 finishes outside the top 20. 17 in a 36-race schedule. That's almost, one more would have been half the schedule. He finished outside the top 20. And we're sitting here 7 out of 17. One more and he'd essentially be at half, right? You can't, 17 is an odd number, but this guy almost finishes outside of the top 20 half the time. That's not a championship contender. Ross Chastain gets, even though he's not elite, he gets top 5s constantly. You know how many finishes Ross Chastain has outside the top 20? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 this year, which is a lot. But last year, at this point after 20 races, Ross Chastain had 4 finishes outside the top 20. And, one of them was Bristol Dirt and shit happens. One of them was the Daytona 500 and shit happens. So he only had 2, non-crazy race finishes outside the top 20. And, he was, we were talking about him this time last year as the top 5 leader. There's a big night and day difference between Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick. And I'm not using that to say against you what you were saying there about Chastain, but it's to emphasize my point about Tyler Reddick and your point about Tyler Reddick, that it's not close. It's just not close.
Yeah, so I'm gonna throw out some numbers here because I'm a numbers guy. I'm gonna look at performances last season. All right, I'm gonna give you 2 drivers. One of them's Reddick. I'll give you that. Lead lap finishes, this is out of 36 races. Lead lap finishes, 19. Running at finish, 28. And average finish, 17.6. That's Tyler Reddick. Okay, driver B. Lead lap finishes, 19. Same as Tyler Reddick. Running at finish, 28. Same as Tyler Reddick. Average finish, 18.3. 0.7 spots worse than Tyler Reddick. I'll give you one guess on who driver B is just to make this quick and to make this a point.
Michael McDowell.
No, Bubba Wallace. Oh. Bubba Wallace is not a championship contender. Tyler Reddick is not a championship contender. Do I think they have different, is Tyler Reddick more talented than Bubba Wallace? Yes, but he's not a championship contender.
They're only separated in points right now. They're only separated in points by 56 and by 2 places in the point stand.
Exactly, yes. So, this talk of Tyler Reddick being a championship contender is just absolutely insane to me. And I get it. You wanna like people for their upside and what they could do, but the fact of the matter is you don't get anything until you actually do it. My same exact point that I made with Ross Chastain. You don't get to be elite until you start winning races. He won Nashville. If he wins a few more, he contends for a championship again, I'll consider calling him elite. But until then, Ross Chastain is not elite, and Tyler Reddick is no championship contender, and it's not close on the ladder, in my opinion.
I agree with you. 100% agree with you. And one more point. Bubba Wallace, like I said, he is 56 points behind Tyler Reddick. But Tyler Reddick has 68 more stage points. So if the stage points were equal, Bubba Wallace would be ahead of Tyler Reddick, which goes to show things like average finish and stuff. So, yes, that means Tyler Reddick runs up front more. And we know that. We're not surprised by that. He has a vast amount of talent, but he hasn't harnessed that talent into a championship caliber type of season style yet. It's just not there.
Mm-hmm. And, if people want to point to the fact that Reddick won 3 races last year, he has a win this year, for him being a championship contender, like I said, 3 of those are on road courses. You know how many road courses are in the playoffs? 1.
I was going to say the exact same thing, yeah.
And it's in the second round. It's not in the third round, and it's not the final race. So, I don't see it.
I will say, he does get a little lucky by the way the races lay out in the playoffs, because he's amazing at Darlington and Bristol, which are the first round. He gets the road course and a super speedway in the second round, and he won at Texas. I mean, to be fair, everybody else's tires popped, and he was the fastest of those tire didn't pop last year at Texas. And then the third round, he gets Homestead, which is an amazing track for him. And then the final round is Phoenix, which we know he's been pretty solid at. So it sets up well for him, but he has to absolutely take max advantage of all that. Can he win the title? Sure. Is he a contender? Not really. Everything has to everything has to line up for him to be able to win this championship, in my opinion.
Yeah, when you need 4 scenarios to go exactly your way to be considered in the championship contention, it's not there. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's going to wrap up Wine About It this week. Presented by RotoBaller Winery, as usual. You can find them online. You can get these wines shipped directly to you. You can find them Kroger, Meijer, Walmart, other big stores. I think they're expanding into Texas now, but North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. Very good wines. Nick loves them.
I love them.
Bourbon aged. I will say, good. And you told me I wasn't gonna like it. I did do a little taste test of it the other night, and I didn't like it at all. I'm gonna do an official review probably next week's episode. But
it's so good, dude. It is so good.
Yeah,
I love
just
it.
such. Yeah, it's just I don't think it's for me. But
it's not for everybody. It's 100% not for everybody. We don't have bad things to say about RotoBaller Wines or the company or anything like that. We just have our own individual tastes. It's not for you, and I've certainly had RotoBaller Wines that aren't for me. But if you like wine, you will like RotoBaller Wines. You will find something that you like.
Yeah, that's virtually guaranteed. I can say that. But yeah, that's going to get us directly into talking about Chicago Street Course. We're probably not going to talk much about this because, as you've heard multiple times already, we don't know what the hell's going to happen. This is the first ever race on a makeshift track that they're in the streets of Chicago. I'll tell you one thing I'm already sick of is all the stupid shit about crime and all this other shit about going to Chicago. Like I'm over it. I'm so over it. It's dumb as hell. If you're
worried about that, you should be worried about a whole lot more stuff. Let's be real. And you're not. Yeah. You're just saying it for one reason and one reason only.
Yeah. But, sports books, they also, it's been clear that they don't really know what to expect. Like, they, obviously, road courses, we know the guys that are good, but they had Reddick go at 10-1. They had Kyle Busch open at 16-1. They all got bet down. Allmendinger, I'm pretty sure the garage guys got him at 13-1, if I remember seeing their stuff correctly.
Yep.
And
the whole favorite crew, all of the favorites. So if you think like road course favorites, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Martin Truex Jr., they all opened at 7-1 at Westgate at Superbook. Mm-hmm. They all opened there. Now there's been a lot, and I will say, to Westgate, to Superbook's credit, there's been a ton of movement. Martin Truex Jr. went down to 6. He went back up to 8. He went back to 7. Like, it's been all over the place. They've been absolutely writing tickets and moving the lines and adjusting everybody else accordingly. Again, that's why Westgate is the biggest book in the world. I thought it was funny. It was like a good find on Reddick 10-1. I'm like, well, yeah, I found him at the biggest sports book in the world. Great find to look at the biggest sports book in the world. I thought the odds were crazy generous, and I think it's really good. The thing we have to do with Chicago as far as betting pre-weekend, right? Like before practice qualifying. Because DFS is going to be a whole different thing. I don't give a shit about DFS right now because I don't know what to expect. But once practice qualifying happens, we'll have a lot of better idea. But as far as betting, early week, we're looking for value. And what I'm just going to do is say, who's a good road course racer, or approximately if you blend. We don't know where Chicago is going to fall on the road course spectrum. We just don't. So we just need to say these are good road course racers. For me, I look at something like Austin Cindric, and he's 12-18 most of the road course races, and now he's 30-1. Heavily considering him. I look at somebody like Daniel Suarez, who was 12 going into Sonoma, and now he's 25-30. Heavily considering him. Have I betted them yet? No, but very much considering them. So that's just my approach early week: is who's good at road courses and what's the long shot value. Or their relative long shot value, like I said with Tyler Reddick, the 10-1 is the longest you found him at a road course since he won at Road America. Period. So that's just kind of what I'm trying to do. That's my only goal. And it doesn't mean I know what's going to happen. It just means I'm trying to take people when they hit the bottom. It's kind of like playing the stock market when you're trying to time when something bottoms out, and that's what I'm just trying to do.
Some of these guys that, I feel like, there's a few guys, like you said, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, they're getting them pretty long. Christopher Bell at 25-1 is intriguing to me just because of we've seen him win a road course before. And I think, FanDuel tends to be the book that keeps odds open during practice. So is practice going to be a good indicator of who's going to be the strongest in the race? We have no idea. But if my personal opinion on how this race might play out is, and again, I have no idea if this is actually going to happen, is that practice is going to be practice and qualifying are going to be correlated. And I think it's going to be super tough to pass. So I think the guys that start up front are going to be the guys that finish up front. So if someone like a Austin Cindric or a Michael McDowell is blazing fast in practice early on, I'd be more willing to bet them while odds were still open on FanDuel during practice, because of I think if they qualify well and they start up front, then they're going to have the best chance to win. But I no idea whether that's. It could easily be the opposite. It could end up being this track's slick. It's going to be easy to pass, and the best drivers that actually figure this track out are going to be the ones that get up front. That could be it too. So,
and it could be chaos and strategy could win, right? We don't know. There's so many possible outcomes. We don't know.
Well,
if we see something like we see at some of these other road courses where shit hits the fan partway through the race and somebody takes the right strategy, or just has 5 great restarts at the end, they could. I don't know. I mean, we just don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm not willing to say I know what's going to happen. And like you said, you think this is what it's going to be, but we don't know. So it could very much be what you're saying. It could very much be it is easy to pass, like you said. Maybe it's too slick and guys that get a handle. Or it could just be it's really hard to pass and there happens to be a late caution. And because it's so hard to pass, people force the issue on these late restarts and we just get 5 of them. We don't know. There's
Chastain.
concrete walls. Yeah, there's concrete walls, unlike Sonoma. So if somebody hits the wall, there's a good chance we're going to go to caution, unlike Sonoma. So there's a lot that's going to be different from Sonoma, from COTA, where, you know, if somebody goes off track, they hit the wall and they break a suspension or crunch the car and can't get it going, and there's the yellow. So it's going to be very different from our first. Very different in the caution sense, that if something happens, there will probably be a yellow flag. Now, there were a lot of yellow flags at COTA as well. And I honestly feel like NASCAR did a good job at COTA of trying to let them run green until they couldn't, and then they threw the yellow. We're going to see the same thing here. We're going to see them try to let them get going, but I think it's going to be harder for cars to get going simply because there are concrete walls that you're going to hit.
Yeah. And I mean, the track has space, but it's not super wide. And
right.
We've seen, like, you look at Watkins Glen, the pileups we've seen at Watkins Glen, we could easily see that here with just how the track's set up. And, you know, car bounces off the wall, collects another car,
or four others.
We got a pile up.
Block track, something like that. And here's the other thing, to kind of tag, and I didn't even say this in my whine about it, but to kind of tag along with it, like, I've seen people be like, oh, well, it's a new track, so the road course aces should have the advantage here because they're road course. And then I've also seen it's a new track, so it's going to neutralize the field because nobody's raced it. Like, we don't know. We just have no fucking clue. Stop pretending like you know. We don't know. We have no idea.
Yeah. Going back to your, I meant to mention this earlier during your whine about it, was Indy Road Course is a great example of we don't know, because if you remember when we went into the first Indy Road Course, we were like, it's going to be another road course race. It's going to be super predictable. You know what we've seen since? Obviously, we had the turtle issue the first year, but even the races after that, when they got rid of that, they've been shit shows every single time. We don't know. From now we know, after what? We've had 2 or 3 Indy Road Course races. Is it 2? We know that it's a shit show, and we're gonna get chaos. It's gonna happen again this year, and it happened the first 2 races. But going into that, I remember everyone was like, "Oh, this is just gonna be another road course. The fastest cars are gonna be up there," and it's just not the case. So that could very well be this Chicago race, or we could get the opposite and get it super predictable. But again, we do not know. We have no idea at all.
Yeah. And I wrote about this at Action Network last year. One of my opening articles of the year for Action Network, right after I got hired, essentially, was how to bet NASCAR, and one of it is take advantage when we don't know. Take advantage of longer shot odds. So that's all I'm doing, is I'm just playing things that are longer. I'm not really betting favorites unless the favorite drifts to 10-1, right? If Chase Elliott drifts to 10-1, I'll probably bet him. If Kyle Larson drifts to 10-1, I'll probably bet him. But I'm not going to bet them at 7 or 8 or 6 or things like that. It was tempting when Reddick was 9. I was like, that's pretty darn close. And then when he hit 10, I was like, yeah, I have to do it. I just have to do it. So it's one of those things where you're timing the market, and, you know, essentially Reddick's stock hit rock bottom, and so I'm going to buy. I'm going to invest when his stock hits rock bottom.
Looking at, is there any, you know, we're talking about long shots. Let's look at the guys that are currently 50. Actually, let's go 40 or longer. We'll call those the long shots this week. Any guys particularly that you're looking at? Obviously, you mentioned Ty Gibbs and you know, Denny Hamlin mentioning that, or William Byron mentioning that he looked really good. But we got guys like, you know, Alex Bowman sitting there at 40, Ryan Blaney 45, Kevin Harvick 45, Chase Briscoe at 65, Keselowski 66, and then we're getting back there, you know, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I don't see Stenhouse or any of those guys going off here, but he's at 100-1. Any of those guys catching your eyes? I know Ty Gibbs probably is. Yeah,
definitely Ty Gibbs. Bowman opened 60 and almost immediately got bet down to 40 at Westgate. I think that's super sharp. I was contemplating taking him at 60, but I also was trying to figure out who I wanted to take because, like I said, Westgate was very generous. And I didn't want to just bet like 8 guys right off the bat because I did like several drivers when the odds opened. So it was more of just like, let's see where things shake out before I bet. So Ty Gibbs, I don't hate Alex Bowman at 40. I don't hate Denny Hamlin at 35. I mean, we saw how good he was at Sonoma, but he was much more mediocre at Coda. So it's like, not really for me. Harvick at 45, not really doing it for me. Justin Haley at 100, I don't want to bet him outright, but I'm very curious what top 10 odds we can get on Justin Haley. He's a good road course racer. He's won in either the Xfinity or Truck Series on a road course. I can't remember which, but definitely interested in that. And yeah, that's about it for guys that are, longer than 40, 45 or so.
Another guy you mentioned Justin Haley, his top 10 odds. Or FanDuel hasn't posted their top 10 odds yet, but another guy that I'm keeping my eye on with those is Todd Gilliland. Go back to Coda.
Always.
He finished top 10 at Coda. We've seen him sneak in good finishes. Hell, he finished 24th at Sonoma in the Rick Ware car. So definitely
he finished what was it, 4th or something at Indy Road Course in the Chaos race. Like, he can take advantage of Chaos races. So if there's a chance this is a Chaos race, Todd Gilliland definitely get top 10. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as well, right? Like we talked about Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in road courses before or after Sonoma. He's getting good at them, just like Austin Dillon improved, just like Bubba Wallace improved. So, Ricky Stenhouse is 101 to win, just like Justin Haley is. I think you got to look at his top 10 odds as well. And it all depends on where things shake out in the top 10 market. Right now, it looks like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is plus 320 for a top 10. Definitely wouldn't do that. Haley is plus 320. Definitely wouldn't do that. And Todd Gilliland plus 400. Pretty close.
No.
I would wait for like 6, 7, 8 on him. Now, I have to say I haven't looked at FanDuel yet, so I don't know if FanDuel has posted their top 10s. They do have top 10s up, so I need to scroll over there. FanDuel has Gilliland, FanDuel now has Gilliland at 4.7 to 1, Stenhouse at 3.4, and Haley at 4.7. So better than all those other numbers I just mentioned on all 3 drivers.
They literally just posted because I just looked at these.
Yeah. So we're getting the old Stacking Dennys FanDuel posting. But like, of all that, like even Corey LaJoie is 4.7. What the hell? I don't love these.
Look how many drivers are plus 470. 1, 2, 3,
ridiculous.
4, 5,
Eric
6,
Jones.
7, 8, 9, 10.
I don't know, man. I'm not really feeling these top 10 odds, unfortunately. I was waiting for FanDuel, but these are pretty garbage.
Shane Van Gissenberg, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is plus 150.
Yeah, it's not good. McDowell's plus money for a top 10.
He's I forget where it was at, but earlier today he was plus 110 somewhere. He's plus 105 at FanDuel.
He's plus 115 at the Canby books right now.
Okay, I like that. I mean, he's been...
Yeah, I think I might have to fire on McDowell. Might have to fire him. Might have to. We'll see. Like Suarez too. He's plus 105. Buscher's plus 105. I mean, these are guys that just crank out top 10s at road courses. Buscher's what, like 7 of his last 8 road courses? He's top 10?
I think you're right on that.
That's insane. And he's plus money.
He has... I want to say he has like the best average finish at road courses. Maybe not the best, but there's some stat that he's leading. I'm gonna have to find it now. That's gonna
Austin
bug me.
Cindric's plus 130. That and Bowman's plus 130. Like, I don't think the value is in these Gillilands, these Stenhouses or Burtons or those guys, Haley's maybe, but maybe the value. Oh, Chris Buescher just moved to minus 105 as we're talking. Fuck.
So here's the stat. Okay, since the start of 2020, there's been 17 road course races. Chase Elliott leads the way with an average finish of 6.5. Guess who's second? Chris Buescher, average finish of 10.6. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight top tens at road courses right now.
Yeah. He's 7 straight top tens, and it's 7 of 8 since I think last year started, like in the next gen car.
Yep.
Because the first one, Coda last year, he didn't.
Correct.
Yeah, these top tens are getting smacked around at FanDuel because they just posted, and I think people saw it, and they're just getting smacked around. Denny Hamlin just moved from plus 130 to plus 125. I saw one other that moved, but I don't know where it is yet. But yeah, Chris Buescher went from plus 105 to minus 105 right off the bat, right after they posted these.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see, obviously there's some of these are going shorter. It'll be interesting to see if they take any of these longer.
Yeah.
McDowell's still sitting there at plus 105.
Yeah.
Who, like, you look at McDowell in this new car, 13th or better in 7 of the 8, and top 10s in 5 of the 8, including Sonoma, where he was 7th. He had that really bad pit stop, but he was running top 5. Last year, top 10s at Watkins Glen, Indy Road Course, Road America, and Sonoma. So, definitely, I like that a lot, that McDowell plus 115. If I had to bet a top 10, I think that'd be it.
Oh, I 100% would bet McDowell at anything plus money. And Buescher, I think I'd bet Buescher at minus 105. He's shown he can do it at all the different road course styles. I'm going to go ahead and we're recording the pod. I'm going to go ahead and bet these and track them. So just want to make sure I get it in there for all the people that complain that, the pod didn't get released until the next day and whatever. So I'll just track them in the app. McDowell just got smacked to minus 105 as we're talking. So I'm going to have to bet him at minus 105. So here we go. Fun times. Don't you love when FanDuel drops these on us? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think I really like Cindric 130. He's such a good road course racer. I don't know what happened to Sonoma. No idea. But at Coda, he was a top 10 speed, and he's constantly a top 10 guy at road courses. If we look at Austin Cindric, and I'm going to try to pull him up here. So, yeah, McDowell, Buescher, and Cindric, all 3 of them. But let me pull up Austin Cindric.
What's Cindric's odds? Sorry.
He's plus 130 for a top 10, but he finished top 10 at Road America last year, Indy Road Course, and Coda. 3 of the 6 last year he finished top 10.
I got Bet365 open right now, and they're a lot nicer with their odds. Buescher's at plus 110, McDowell's at plus 110, Cindric's at plus 150.
Oh shit. Well, it's too bad I already bet Cindric. McDowell's at what?
McDowell's plus 110. Same with Buescher.
McDowell's plus 110. Okay.
And they're their favorite in top 10, or the shortest odds is Truex minus 220, Larson minus 200, Elliott minus 180. That's compared to FanDuel's Chase Elliott minus 310, Truex minus 270. So if you're betting top 10s, I think 365 right now is.
All right. Well, I can get McDowell even money at Caesars as well. So that's pretty good. There we go. And who's the other guy I had? Oh, Busher. Busher, right. Yes. And Busher, top 10. Let's see, what did I get Busher at? Yeah, minus 105, 1.05 units. Track pick. I'm old, dude. Like, I'm about to turn 40. And just technology escapes me. It's so hard for me to, like, this is what I did here, and this is what I did there, and then I have to type this, and I have to type that. Hopefully I tracked everything correct. And while we're talking and potting,
You sound like a boomer right now.
I am a boomer. I'm literally getting my first colonoscopy next week, so that's boomer moment right there.
That is quite the boomer moment, yes.
There you go. It's out to the world on the podcast. I'm turning 40, and I have family history, and it's recommended if you have family history and you're turning 40 to get it. Normally it's 45. I want to make sure that everybody follows this advice. We have a lot of people that follow us that are probably close to our age, in our age bracket. Get it done. John Andretti, NASCAR driver, IndyCar driver, died from colon cancer in his 50s. Make sure you get it done. So with my family history, I have to definitely get mine done. So when we record Stacking Dennys next week, I will be probably interrupted several times during the recording to use the toilet. Maybe we'll need to record it on Thursday or something. It sounds like the prep is the worst part of it. Like the procedure is not bad or whatever. Like George Bush, I think another president, they've all done colonoscopies while they're president, right? Like it's a minor thing. They turned over power for a day or two or whatever. I think Trump did as well. And I don't know if Obama did, but that's not the point. The point is like it has nothing to do with politics. The point is like even the presidents do this procedure because it's important. The hashtag came about when Andretti had his colon cancer, and they found it as hashtag check it for Andretti. So made me well aware of it. And then I talked to my family, and turns out there's family history there. So total sidebar, but make sure you do that. But I really am a boomer. Like I'm turning 40, dude. I'm turning 40. That's boomer age right there.
Man, you know, there's one group of people I don't like on this planet, and it's boomers. So I'll make the exception for you, though.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't want to do it, but we have to. We can't do random fantasy racing, but we can do our picks to win.
Sucks.
And I would just, yeah, thanks, Elmo. But I would. So we are now, after last week and me picking Chastain to win, we now each have 2 wins on the year with our picks to win. You had Bell last week. He came home 7th. And I obviously had Chastain and got the win. So I'll let you go first on who you want to pick.
I
also
have
before we
no
do that,
idea.
Random Fantasy Racing, your final doc block was Reddick, who
my god,
lost a tire after running top 5 all day.
Yeah, it was a classic way to end Random Fantasy for me. It was the doc block. My girlfriend, she had Ross Chastain, so shout outs to Kelsey for that. Her makeup, so she does like a makeup every week of like who was the winner. She tries to do their paint scheme with her eyeshadow and stuff, and maybe try to accessorize as well. The Ross Chastain scheme she just did in terms of her makeup, spot on. It's so good. I love the way the different blue shades blend in her eyes and stuff like that. It's really good. But yeah, she had Ross Chastain, so she went out a winner. So props to Kelsey. But yeah, Tyler Reddick was doc blocked to hell. We're gonna have to figure out the new the new doc block. Like, remember it was random fantasy, and if I had some like wild ass take, they would be really good, and then shit would happen to them. So I need to like find some like wild. So I guess doc block this week is Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs is doc blocked this week because I'm gonna pick him as my winner.
Oh,
let's go. Let's fucking go.
Man, I wasn't expecting that, but I'm here for it. And I'm still rooting for more than 16 winners in the regular season. So that would,
I hate Ty Gibbs.
Get us.
I hate him.
Yeah.
So I hope I doc block him. Actually, I hope I don't doc block him. I like my bets, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah. Oh man, that's going out on a limb. That's definitely going out on a limb.
I don't think it's a good pick, but I don't think anything's a good pick, right? So let's just have some fun.
Yeah. I like it. Let's see. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the guy I bet. I'm gonna go Kyle Busch. For some reason, I think he just gets it done. Neither of us or one of us should have went with Logano because he seems to win every first race at tracks.
I know, right? I don't think that's another thing, and this isn't critical of Ryan at iFantasy Race. It's just like that stuff to me just isn't very relevant because all the tracks are so different, and it's not like one guy just has a knack for figuring out tracks before somebody else. It just small sample size. That's how it's worked out. So like those things I just don't look at.
It's kind of like Bowman being the track killer. Like
it's an interesting factoid, right? It's a very interesting factoid. I think it's a great factoid. I just don't think it's a predictive thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, hopefully
like doc blocked is a predictive thing.
Yeah. Hey, maybe your pick to win is going to be the new doc block because you had Busch to win at Talladega and that was your second win of the year. Since then, though, 0 top fives from you. So,
oh shit,
this could be the new doc blocked.
Yeah. Is somebody listening to us record this podcast? Because Justin Haley just moved in top 10 as well.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Now, wait. Where'd he go? Oh, yeah, no, they just shifted him up. I'm like literally watching the odds as they move. So I tracked McDowell, Buescher, and Cindric. McDowell and Buescher are both now minus 110, and Cindric's plus 110. So they've all moved several cents or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I had to lock in that Buescher plus 110 on 365. I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got for this week. Good old Chicago street race, and then we're going to go to Atlanta next week for another under the lights at Atlanta. That's going to be something. I actually don't mind these later Sunday races. Like Nashville, I enjoyed that late race. And then I'm busy this weekend and I'm busy next weekend. So having them on Sunday night actually works really well for my schedule. So hopefully the Chicago street course race is a good one. Hopefully we get a good race. This isn't just a complete shit show like we've seen at Indy Road Course. There's already people talking about this track's going to be one and done. And I don't know. From what I saw a tweet before we started recording, I forgot to save it, but I think they said they estimated that of all the tickets sold so far, 70% are going to be new people that haven't seen a NASCAR race before. So,
yeah,
hey,
they keep that data in a database, yeah, it's something like that. It's going to be a lot of new eyeballs for sure.
Adam Stern, while NASCAR Chicago hasn't released the number of tickets sold for the weekend, it is saying that more than 70% of attendees will be going to their first NASCAR race, which is, hey, I like it. Those are good numbers.
So, real quick, so I have my Google spreadsheet that has like all my bets tracked and whatever. Haven't updated it in a couple weeks just because I've been on a super heavy NFL kick and just it's low priority for me. I am going to update it. It also got unshared because Action Network, we have this thing where all of our documents that are shared outside of the company have to be reviewed every so often, and they get auto unshared. So mine just got auto unshared. It'll be reshared. I will populate it, backfill it with all the Stacking Dennys, the run. Usually we don't do any bets on here, but tonight we did. I don't think I've missed any bets from Stacking Dennys the past few weeks, but the running hot, anything from an article of mine, anything from the app, that'll all be backfilled, time-stamped, etc., linked. So that'll be done. I've finished. So for those of you who follow me for NFL work, luck rankings, those kicked ass last year. They had a 60% win rate against the closing spread. So luck rankings 2.0, I just finished those, and I'm so excited. Like, I'm not excited for NFL in terms of like I know it's going to be I love the grind. I think NFL is fun. It's exciting to do. It takes a lot of my time. That's what I'm not excited about. I have more free time outside of NFL season. But I'm excited that I got the luck rankings done. They're going to be really good. But that's what I've been grinding away the past few weeks, and it's well worth it. So if you like NFL betting content as well, make sure you're following me for that. We're going to crush, especially going to crush early season bets against the spread. So very excited about that, but I need to definitely get back on the ball on that Google spreadsheet that I've been slacking on for that aspect. And in the Action Network Discord, somebody says odds are better on Bet365 on those top 10s for those who have it. 100%, just like Jordan said, but a lot easier for me to bet from the seat of my chair in FanDuel, so that's what I do.
Solid.
Yeah, because Boyd Gaming has the FanDuel lines here, so I can just bet those.
All right, that's going to do it this week. Thank you all that listened. Talk to you next week with Atlanta, and hopefully we get a good race this weekend in Chicago. Again, we don't know what to expect, and we're not saying that we do. And hopefully Ross Chastain doesn't win again.
I actually know what to expect. I'm just kidding.
All right. See you guys.
See y'all.